Forget Panama or Switzerland. In the wake of the Brexit decision, some people are saying the UK could reinvent itself as the world's premier tax haven location. Those who bankrolled the Leave campaign have even suggested the UK could emulate Singapore and win back some of the business that was lost to Asia. So is that a viable strategy? And if so, why was the City of London so against the Leave campaign? Here at the FD Festival of Finance, we got a bit of a perspective.
Well, London was in effect a kind of a Singapore within the European Union framework, but now it's withdrawing from the European Union, or at least proposing to do so. If you think about the Southeast Asian situation, if there was an equivalent framework like the European Union Southeast Asian, and Singapore was out of that framework, then Singapore, of course, will not be as successful as it is today. But in Southeast Asia, of course, the economies are not very well integrated, so Singapore being politically stable, adopting British common law and so on and so forth, can take advantage, and has, of course, personal links to China and Southeast Asia, is taking advantage of this condition and developing itself essentially as an offshore financial center. London played, in a way, the same role within the European Union. But now the UK is withdrawing from the European Union, and I think London will not have these advantages. That's on the one hand. Secondly, the United Kingdom now will have to negotiate from a position of weakness, both with the European Union and with the United States. And both of them are going to ensure that the United Kingdom will not become a tax haven. So I'm quite sure about that.
Mainly financial centres which have been successful have been because they've been, on the whole, I mean it's not altogether true, is because they've got a very strong basis of law stability. I think Britain still retains that. It retains English common law, which is perceived as being fair and where you can get a result quicker than in most places, and generally a fair result. So that's not going to change. Singapore certainly played on that extensively and took business away from Hong Kong, and they're used as the gateways to investment in the Far East because of the stable legal system, really, and that is their advantage. You can really do what you can do in those places anywhere in the world, but I suppose they attract banks to set up there and people to do business through there because of the English law, I think, is a big thing. So you've certainly got that, and that's not going to change.
Well, the EU, unfortunately, is weak, is divided politically, so it is unclear whether it will have the strength to say we don't accept that the UK becomes a major tax haven just outside of the EU. You can see over the last years the US has imposed sanctions on a number of Swiss banks. In the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act in the US, there are clear sanctions defined for financial institutions that refuse to cooperate with the IRS. The European Union, which is much more affected by tax evasion, has done none of this, has no sanctions on Swiss banks, no sanctions on tax havens in general. So that's my fear, that if the EU does not impose sanctions, the UK might find it profitable to just play the tax haven card as much as it can.
Whether the UK can establish itself as a leader in the international tax haven game, we still don't know. One thing we have learnt, however, is that the business of sovereign tax arbitrage is an extremely competitive one.